welcome to Chatz, the television podcast, season 16, Xena Warrior Chatzess, the show where two best friends are watching through Xena Warrior Princess for the very first time. My name is Alan, and I'm joined by a mysterious peasant who just so happens to be the only man who can string Ulysses' bow. It's Magellan. I think you got it, man. I think you're gonna get
Pilates
it.
I've been doing. Working on.
How's that been going, by the way? I don't care about Xena. How's Pilates?
It's good. You know, you really feel like you've been bullied afterwards, and that's good. That's a good thing.
By a svelte woman.
Yeah, and it sort of targets muscles that you're like, oh god, there's more.
There's
muscles.
Totally.
What are you talking about?
How does my tummy have this many? No, I can't.
There's
That's incredible.
There's one instructor that we go to sometimes. This guy who, you know, he tries to ground everything in kind of tangible connection to the physical realities of your body. And there's a part where he has you hold these like 5-pound weights, and he's like, you know, this is 10 pounds that you're lifting above your head. And he emphasizes the human skull weighs about 8 to 10 pounds. We're teaching our bodies to carry the weight of our human skull. It's awesome.
A freaky yoga instructor. Nothing better than that, man.
Yeah, that's what I need. I need that sort of grisly, macabre approach to teaching me how to like carry myself properly.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, anyway,
welcome to the show.
Yeah, hey. So people might not see this, but we're trying something today where we're experimenting with recording video of ourselves while we do the podcast. I bring that up just because we have some new t-shirts, some Xena themed t-shirts that we bought with Patreon money. So thank you for supporting us at patreon.com/chatspod. Alan, do you want to sort of talk about your shirt first and what you enjoy about it?
I do. I just realized that my video is mirrored, and that's mine, not yours. So I have to fix that later. But so it says Annex. But it's a light blue t-shirt with Xena in sort of like stylized in purple, and beneath her is the Xena Warrior Princess logo.
Mm-hmm.
When I get graphic tees, I always hate getting black because it's the most common color for graphic tees. So
I have a ton of black t-shirts.
Same. Concerts, gaming conventions, etc. So I decided to go for light blue, and then this was the one that they had, and I love the purple. So it's a bit of a sleigh. What about you?
I went on Etsy, and I was so close to getting one that it said like a warrior princess forged in the heat of battle, and it was this like original Xena art, but there's just a flash of her underwear showing, and it's like, can we not just make a cool Xena shirt without doing that? So Instead, I found this Etsy shop called Hellmouth, and they have, you know, a bunch of pop culture t-shirt stuff.
Oh, God.
And they had this very charming little still of Gabrielle, Xena, and Argo. Is that the horse's name? Argo?
It is. Good job.
All just sharing a laugh in the woods, you know? I mean, isn't that what we're here for? Sharing a laugh in the woods.
New podcast name. Sharing a laugh in the woods with Xena, Gabby, Argo, and the boys.
I would listen to it.
I would subscribe. Yeah, right. And then
I would subscribe to boost the numbers for sure.
That's a good listener right there. That's a good contributor to the community.
Yeah,
this is just something we've been wanting to do for a while. We know a lot of podcasts perform better on things like YouTube with video. And our show has been doing really well on YouTube. So we figured, why not get a little bit of our faces on there? And again, you might not see this one. It's a little rough. I'm recording it off of my monitor, so you may see windows popping into it and out of it here and there, but we're doing our best, and eventually, hopefully, when it's refined, maybe we just do this in addition to your regularly edited audio version of Chatz.
Yeah.
So
if you all have any tips out there of how you've done this efficiently, effectively, let us know. We want to build it into our workflow without, you know, compromising the regularity of the podcast or veering too far into making it video focused. You know, we want it to still be accessible to people who just want to listen to it, but add a little extra sauce. So
interactivity is important, and you know, this also makes stuff like clipping a lot more fun. We get our face. I was about to say,
gag?
I literally was about to say, I don't want to do too many visual gags that people don't get, so I'm just going to explain it. I'm holding up my coffee mug, which has like 1/3 left of very cold coffee in it. And again, because it's backwards, that's actually appropriate because it's a Twin Peaks mug. Ma, I, see, good, e, fuck. Or I am Dougie's coffee. I got this when we were watching Twin Peaks The Return. Kyle MacLachlan also has this mug. I saw him post a tweet with it recently. So we're cool. Me and Kyle.
It might have been your mug. Maybe he came over to borrow it.
I'm going to choke. No way. Please, Kyle, if you're coming over, we can do the apple dance together. He's like a Charlie fan, apparently. Yeah, I believe that. Before we get into things, I have a brief segment, a recurring segment that I'm continuing to talk about. It is the One Piece Anime Initiative.
I've no interest in it myself.
I'm playing the bumper and Magellan can't hear it.
But someday that treasure will turn this world upside down. You know what I'm talking about.
And then it gets a little jazzy.
The One Piece is real!
Thank you again to Six for making the One Piece Anime Initiative bumper. If you don't know, I watch One Piece, the anime. And every week I try to ultimately reach the goal of finding 1 or 2 episodes for Magellan to watch to get him into the longest running anime series. I have consulted a lot of people about this question, by the way. I consulted the One Piece Podcast Discord. And then I actually submitted a question to the podcast and got it answered this week.
Wow.
I said, basically, I have this friend who tends to prefer emotional moments over like big silly action in anime, but he does like action. Can you get me 1 single episode to get him to at least consider watching One Piece? Yeah. And I have some answers for you. I have to narrow this down and finalize. I have to rewatch some of them. But for the One Piece fans out there, the big Rex were the part where they put the X's on their hands in Alabasta, which is considered a great arc. Yeah,
that's like the Yu-Gi-Oh pilot where they make the
precisely
in their hands. Yeah,
exactly right. Episode 4, which is the episode that adapts chapter 1, is just a really great here's Luffy, he's charming, he's lovable. That's a strong front runner. Requires nothing to know. The walk on Arlong Park is an anime exclusive scene that's really cool, badass, emotional. It just depends on how much you're willing to either not know what's going on or have things lightly explained to you. Because episode 4 is perfect. I don't have to say a single thing. You watch it, you'll get it. You'll be like, wow, good show. Blackbeard versus Ace is a good action episode, but it would make no sense to you. Luffy beating Crocodile is cool. Would take about 10 seconds to explain. Zoro v Mihawk, 10 seconds to explain. Ringing the bell in Skypiea? Huge moment. I just watched that one a few weeks ago. That one's really beautiful and would definitely require plenty of explanation, but it's so good.
So this bell, this is an important symbol.
Yeah, so the people of Skypiea, which is an island in the sky, are really spiritual, and they're being sort of controlled by this guy who calls himself a god, Eneru. He's a lightning man. And there's this whole thing. I don't remember exactly the context of it, but there's this big golden bell in the sky that when it's rung will sort of change the tide of history for them. It's sort of what you believe in versus what's actually happening when you do it.
Wow.
And so Eneru makes this whole point about nobody's allowed to touch it except me. I'm going to be your ruler forever. And then Luffy obviously does it. And it's awesome the way he climbs up to the bell. Oh, it's freaking cool.
That sounds pretty good.
And then the last one's where there are movies that are pretty accessible. But I mean, you watched Film Gold, and I don't think that one is particularly confusing, but also it's not that's not what the show is like. Yeah, everybody's there. They already have their dynamic set up. It's just kind of a action romp that relies on you already knowing who the characters are. So I'll continue looking for that. But in terms of what I've been watching on it, I only have 1 arc left. I did finally slow down. I said last week I hope I slow down on this, and the only arc left with episodes in my spreadsheet is Wano, which is the samurai country. Oh. And that's the last that's 2 arcs ago from where we are at right now. It's really fun. They got the animation budget back. It's a beautifully animated chunk of the show. And it's kind of an anime within itself. It has these 3 acts. It has a frame narrative. There's different factions. There's a character who's his whole life story is told in several episodes of flashback. So I'm picking and choosing because Wano, it's 200 plus episodes and I'm not watching all that, but it's fun so far. And it introduces, and this will be for the video crowd, my new favorite One Piece side character, Yamato, who is the son of Kaido and my trans representation gremlin son. So
that's amazing.
Yamato's awesome. We love him very much. So he comes from Wano. That's where we're at. I'm sure these updates will slow down and become less frequent eventually. But yeah, enjoying Wano so far and having a good time with the initiative.
Nice. Very cool.
Thank you. Getting right into things. You want to talk about Xena?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. Well, this week on XenaChatz, we watched Season 2, Episode 19 of Xena Warrior Princess Ulysses. And after the break, we'll talk about Season 2, Episode 20, The Price. We don't know if the price is right or not, but we'll find out. Ulysses was written by series creator R.J. Stewart and directed by Michael Levine. It aired April 21st, 1997. Magellan, can you tell me what happened in Ulysses?
In this episode, Xena and Gabrielle help Ulysses, king of Ithaca, to face all the forces of Poseidon, god of the sea, so he can go back home after the Trojan War. During the journey, Xena and Ulysses start falling in love.
Uh-oh.
No, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Now we can actually pull on the shirt collar. What did you say? Something het? What?
Comp het, compulsory heterosexuality.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
This is another comp het episode. It's like not illegally horny, but
Right.
it's hornier than it needs to be. And I feel really mixed about it. I think it's fun, right? Like the action is like top notch. We both noted that all the scenes on boats were very swashbuckly. Like we're getting some Pirates of the Caribbean vibes there, which is so good.
Yeah.
And I feel very mixed about the relationship between Ulysses, Gabrielle, and Xena. This like love triangle situation. What about you?
Yeah, I don't. At the beginning of the episode, I was like, okay, Magellan, don't participate in bisexual erasure. Don't gatekeep queerness and be like Xena and Gabrielle aren't allowed to find a man attractive. But like Ulysses just gives off friend energy. He's such a friend, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not really. He's bare chested and burly and actiony, and feels like a non-sexual being to me. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I get it.
Like on
There's something
paper,
very asexual about, because it's like almost hypersexual. It like loops back around with the men on this show sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's partly the guy they cast. Like he just seems so like he John. What's his name? John de something. I forget his last name.
Give me a sec.
But I was looking him up, and he was born in Brooklyn, and he very much is like just
A
kind
guy
of
from Brooklyn.
older Brooklyn guy, perfectly cast as like a teacher in a TV show or something like that. He's handsome, he does cool moves, and I believe that he loves Xena, and I think he's given the role a lot of good stuff. But I don't know.
John D'Aquino, by the way.
John D'Aquino. But I don't know. I'm not really attracted to men, so maybe that's part of the problem for me. So yeah, it just I can understand he wants to adventure with them and be their pal, and I also like this whole Xena's falling in love and she's gotta honor his duty and that kind of thing. But I didn't feel it. It was all kind of in the head and not the heart in this one, I think.
Good point. Now, do you want to ask for the person who is sometimes attracted to men what they think?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's a little hot. I think D'Aquino brings a charisma to this role that I love. And I think of the Xena men we've had so far, I like seeing him. I like to witness him and look at him. He's just like very masculine, which for me is like not a big plus. And what I do appreciate is that the episode is, as always with Xena, a tight 44 minutes. And by the end, we fully see the arc of like, here's why that was never going to work. And the show pretty firmly says like, he was never going to be the one for Xena.
Right.
Who knows if he was going to be the one for Penelope? This episode has a lot of Forrest Gumping of Xena into the Odyssey. So they have this sort of turgid relationship. But by the end of it, I was like, okay, I understand what you guys were doing for Ulysses. But when he's on the beach earlier and she's like, oh, and she's just like sitting on the rock watching him, I'm like, I love to see a woman enjoy her sexuality.
Yeah, that's great.
But also, weird. She's gonna have her fun.
Yeah.
I did note this, by the way.
What were we gonna say?
Just every Xena episode is exactly 44 minutes.
I'm sure that's like a network
thing.
It needs to be a certain amount of time, commercial breaks.
It's impressive.
That kind of thing. I think the template for me of this kind of guy is like a Viggo Mortensen type.
Oh, sure.
And I could definitely see a world where it's the same script, same scenes, but I don't know. Like Ulysses, he wasn't super mysterious in that way. So that was kind of my issue. But what I did appreciate about his performance is that he's so, and what I think was different about this time around, the episode where like Xena or Gabrielle has a love interest, is there wasn't talk of, oh, well, we're going to have to break the band up for this man, right? It's not like,
she never says like, I'm going to have to leave you for it.
Right. It's just a question of, well, do you reciprocate his feelings? Are we going to hang out with him? Are we going to let him be part of a throuple with us and adventure? Are we going to live on Ithaca for a little while? But it's like Xena and Gabrielle are together. They are going to be in one another's lives regardless. And this guy is not coming into it with the intent of busting up their friendship either. He's like very respectful of their relationship. And, when he introduces them to his buddy on Ithaca, he's like, these are my friends, Xena and Gabrielle. When he talks to Xena, he's like, I want to adventure with you and Gabrielle. So he's like very above board and, forthright about how he feels. And I do think that the actor plays that earnestness really well, which doesn't serve to make me go hubba hubba wonka wonka for him, but I think it serves to like make the plot function in the way that it needs to, again, from like a logical perspective. So.
Yeah, he slots right into it. And they slot right into his story, as I was saying. Quickly shouting out John D'Aquino's roles. The main thing you probably know him from is being the president of the United States and Corey in the House, which is a That's So Raven spinoff where Corey lives in the White House.
Right.
He also had a one-off role in Monk as someone named McKiernan from Mr. Monk Falls in Love. I'm
sure we watched that one recently.
Yeah, I feel like maybe that was one of the ones we saw when I was there, possibly. And then he did a lot of, so he had like the Disney gig going for a while. He had the cable TV going for a while. He's definitely one of those guys and has been for a really long
TV
time.
Character actor guy.
Absolutely. He doesn't bring anything extremely unique. You're not just like, whoa, John D'Aquino, oh my God. There's no performance of his that I'm like, this is life-changing. This is absolutely stunning. It's just like, yeah, he is a workman's kind of actor.
Yeah.
So getting into the recap, as we get into the fun stuff, Gabrielle is encouraging Xena to smell the flowers, chill out with the seagulls, have fun, relax. And then she draws her sword. And she's like, wait, we're at the sea, dude. The sea makes you draw your sword? No, but the sound of a battle does, you freaking freak. Can you be normal for 5 minutes, Xena? No?
I know. And then she proceeds to watch Ulysses fight, and she's like, ooh, that's nice. Okay, let me watch this guy fight a little bit. That was pretty fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
It's so funny to me that they intuit how to fight together. She meets him, she's like, you need help? And he's like, yeah, let me grab your arms. And he grabs her arms and she spin kicks everyone. I'm like, we didn't coordinate anything. What do you mean grab my arms?
Yeah.
That's just TV it's really fun.
You know what I think the other thing is with the Ulysses Xena relationship is, it would be one thing if this is like, a fling or I don't know how we feel about each other, but they bring in the whole, well, Gabrielle's talked about this idea of a soulmate before, so maybe we're soulmates, and they kind of do that here with the spin kick move of, whoa, exactly how I like to fight.
Yeah,
what's
Gabrielle
going
can't
on
do
here? And I just think that's like way too high of stakes, emotionally speaking, for this one-off random guy episode. But that is a fun moment where they do the spin kick and you get that overhead shot. That's really great. That's a fun fight moment.
Yeah, this is just some good choreo. And then Gabrielle recognizes him. You're that Ulysses? He's the king of Ithaca. Like, everybody pull out your textbooks. We all read the Odyssey in middle school. It's a good book. This really made me want to reread the Iliad and the Odyssey. I've been dying to read the Emily Wilson translation of them for a couple years. It's so expensive. I feel like I need it to be gifted to me. At least like the hardcovers. I'm sure you could get paperbacks for less, but that's the most recent famous translation that I've heard was good. Although I know it's like changes certain things. Some people are annoyed about the changes, whatever. And the point is, I want to reread the Odyssey, or I could just watch Oh Brother, Where Art Thou again. Do you have a favorite Odyssey? Is there an Animaniacs Odyssey episode?
Probably. I mean, my favorite Odyssey adaptation is Twin Peaks: The Return, of course.
Oh my god. Damn it. Fair enough. Go to television, and I am still Dougie's Coffee.
Yeah.
Ding for the video.
Something that I liked about them meeting Ulysses here. First of all, Xena, why are we sometimes using the Latin names and sometimes the Greek names? That
because
is
it's cool.
Odd to me. Just call him Odysseus. It's supposed to be Greek. Whatever. What I liked is they actually acknowledged the fact that they had participated in the Trojan War, and they have a moment where he's like, hey, we were on opposite sides of that war. You were fighting with Troy. I get it. The war's over. We're pals now. Yeah. And I respected that. There need to be like, fuck, wait, we did the Iliad. We're putting ourselves in a situation where there's continuity in the mythology, and we need to acknowledge that. And they did it. It's like, okay, cool. If you're gonna play fast and loose with time and myth and put it all in a blender, it's nice when there's like a little chunk in my smoothie that actually coalesces and makes sense together.
Yes.
So I like that.
Yeah, it's like when we watched that episode, the Trojan War episode, you're like, where does this fit into time? Where does this fit into history? But now because it's established canon, that Xena, we've like viewed canon episode where she was in the Trojan War. Now it exists, and and he's still going home from that episode. Yeah, technically, right. Fascinating. And they were on opposite sides, which is cool. Most important thing about the cold open is that we finally get to see the Poseidon shot from the theme song of him rising out of the water, and they do get their money's worth. They use it about 3 or 4 times here from different angles and stuff.
Awesome.
It's very good.
It's obviously like old as dirt and looks bad in a certain way, but just like the harpies, it looks bad in this way where it's sort of like if someone watched you play an N64 game and they're like, oh my god, the graphics on this are so bad, and it's like, what are you talking? They only had so many bits. Like they actually did a pretty good job with the number of bits they had here, so get out of town with that. It's that exact kind of, weird 3D graphics jank that is kind of beautiful because they're working at the peak of what the limitations allow them to do. And they're not trying to make it look better than that. They're just trying to make it look as good as it's possible for them to do. So I actually really like the Poseidon stuff. I thought it looked cool.
And it's also like, this is an interesting, and we could talk way more about this if we wanted to, but it only needs to look good enough so that you understand that he's supposed to be Poseidon, the water, the god of the seas. It doesn't need to look any better than that or higher fidelity than that. This is a big problem with the CG industry these days, is that we go for such high fidelity, and in the gaming industry, high fidelity, high detail requires absurd amounts of labor and crunch and things like that. And it's like, I don't need perfect water. I know, like, video games didn't even figure out perfect water until like a year ago. Like, it looks like a water monster coming out of the water, and that's more than good enough. Yeah. And later when he's in the like the siren's pool and his head pops out or something, you're like, yeah, that's Poseidon still. I get it.
That's
it's
great.
Visual language.
His head just pops out of a clam talking to them. It's so funny.
Hey. I wish I could do that myself. Yeah. He also makes a quip about the Cyclops.
Yeah. Say more about that.
You blinded a Cyclops? Oh, yeah, I've done the same myself. What? You guys both killing my sons?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I was checking to see if Poseidon had been in Hercules, but no, this is his first appearance, I believe.
That's so good. We finally got one.
Correctly. Which is kind of... So did they just make a shot of Poseidon for the opening titles? Because it's not like they produced this late season 2 episode at the beginning of the show. Is this title sequence like after the fact being added to episodes, or did they just make that shot and they're like, one day we're gonna make an episode where we're gonna make an episode
around the shot?
Right. I don't know. Well, I thought that was really interesting.
They also, in the theme song, I think there's a part where Xena is on the cliff yelling at him. That's not in this episode, so I'm like, I don't know the answer to that question. That's a very astute question you've asked. Are you looking it up?
I'm seeing if this episode page on the Xena Wiki has trivia about it, but they don't.
Okay.
But they do say Poseidon's voiced by Charles Siebert, who's a regular director on the show.
Oh, sure. Nice.
He does a great job. I thought his voice also added a lot to making that scene work, because it's like, this is kind of a scary guy.
He's intimidating.
Oh, John
And,
DeCino,
they have to go fight some pirates.
Something we didn't say about John DeCino is that he was a regular on Sequest. So
That's what I knew it. Thank you for catching that.
Big ups. You know who else was a regular on Sequest is Ted Raimi.
Oh my god!
I think it's about time we reconsider Sequest.
Don't do this to me. Don't.
Hard pivot in the middle of season 16.
Yeah, the ideal watch order for Xena is as soon as they get to the ocean with Poseidon, then you watch all of Sequest.
Yeah, because it's actually in the far future of Xena. It's same universe. And you just don't understand that until you've seen a season and a half of Xena.
Oh, man, I want that to be true. We're going to headcanon it. I love Poseidon, by the way, being like, yeah, Xena, my nephew, my like weird gay nephew, Ares, really likes you for whatever reason. Just so you clearly have like stuff going on with my family. There's beef. There's existing beef or romance. This part kind of happens. There's a lot of action. Ulysses, Gabrielle, and Xena do some pirate swashbuckling on a ship. Gabrielle does a sort of sexy wig routine to distract the pirates while Xena and Ulysses do the fighting. I just love swashbuckling so much, dude. Gabrielle fights people with a mop. She like martial arts movies with a mop. That's so good. So good.
I want to... Is there like a Star Trek of the seas?
Whoa,
you know what I mean?
Just summoned a concept. Yeah, there has to be.
I mean, maybe that's what
Star
One Piece
Trek.
is. Is that what you're telling me?
Kind of. Oh my god, I looked up Star Trek of the Seas and got Star Trek The Cruise.
Because obviously Sequest is Star Trek of like the deep ocean, but that's not a swashbuckling show. That's like a submersible talking dolphin show. I want like we're pirates, we're sailing around, we found a new island where there's like a whole thing going on. The islands are basically like planets. There's fantastical creatures. Give me that. That's what I want.
Congratulations, you did just describe One Piece. You absolutely did.
Okay, great. Okay.
Do you want a series-long plot about finding a big treasure at the end of it too?
Yeah. That'd be good.
All right, that was actually so easy. The One Piece animation should have just ended, guys. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to watch a single thing. No, I think the reason for that not necessarily existing is so much of Star Trek is about like going places we haven't gone before, and not just like new islands and new stuff, but like technology matters a lot. The space age technology. How did we advance out of needing things? And being on the seas is all about needing things. So wants and needs would be inherent to a story about being on the ocean.
That's a good point.
So there's lots of like gendery stuff, lots of flirting. We get this runner here about Gabrielle being seasick all the time. The headcanon here is that she's grossed out by heterosexuality in a way, and she feels sick being around Xena and Ulysses flirting. She's like, oh, sorry, I need to puke real quick, guys. My bad.
Right. She's not actually seasick. That's just her cover.
Yeah. I do like her being seasick, though. That's like a fun character detail.
Yeah, it kind of does work that way because she always is like barging into them, having a cutesy conversation, being like,
"Yep,
I don't feel so good.
Oh, sorry, I got a yards real quick."
Yeah. So I wish they played that up a little bit more. Not like I think it's kind of annoying that Gabrielle in these Xena's in a romance plots gets relegated to the comedic I feel sick, like that's kind of lame. But they do actually acknowledge later in the episode, Gabrielle's like, I heard you talking to him, what's the deal, you're in love with him or what? And Xena's like, hey, you're so special to me, Gabrielle. I only love him because I love you, actually. And I like that there was sort of okay, if we're gonna open up this relationship, let's talk about it moment.
Let's have that conversation.
Yeah.
It is at this point that Poseidon's head pops into the Siren's fountain and says, hey girls, you guys gotta go do your thing and knock out my boy Ulysses and fuck this plan up. So we get the classic siren sequence with Ulysses tied to the mast of the boat in the deck. Gabrielle is tasked with keeping him there. The sirens, they could have gone way nastier with these sirens. I was like a little disappointed that they weren't freakier, either visually or sound wise. Like, do something
for a show that's like too much in a lot of those ways with its, horniness or its oddness. A show that gave us like the Bacchae and Bacchus, and then the way they do sirens is it's just 3 women in a room and some Dutch angles and some like echo effects. They're not even on the rock. They're just like showing us shots of an empty rock in the ocean. It's like, this is underwhelming until it turns into a kind of like
a singing competition.
The dueling banjos of siren songs.
Yeah.
And Xena starts singing the kind of like, opposite destructive interference siren song.
The counter melody.
Yeah, exactly. And we get these shots of Lucy Lawless at the wheel of the ship doing super over dramatic lip syncing to her Xena siren song. It's incredible. That part is very, very good.
So, friend of the pod, Oldest Romans, made a great point to me. I was like, because from here, Ulysses makes some odd decisions, right? He's like, Xena, I think you're my soulmate. And I was like, that's so fast. That's so stupid. What a dumb man. And she was, or Omens was like, the effect of the siren song still works on you for about 3 days. That's like canonical to the Odyssey. Like, it's still in your head. It just wears off slowly. So he's probably still just like, emotionally manipulated by the song, by Xena's song, and by everything.
Right.
There's an explanation to be had there of like why he suddenly is like, and it's also a TV show, and like it's the second act, and we need to establish a point of tension now.
Yeah.
But I like that interpretation that like it's not just coming out of nowhere. That he's like, Xena, I do believe in a soulmate, and I think it's you.
Yeah. Yeah. When he first was like, oh my gosh, wow. I at first thought that's what was going on, that he was wooed by a Xena siren song that has the same powers as the regular siren song. The episode doesn't do that, doesn't make that explicit. I think that would have been really interesting. But it would have also complicated and made Xena's conflict in this episode stranger and less conflicting, because instead of her being like, oh, I do have feelings for him, but he has a duty, it would have been like, I do have feelings for him, but I got him with a siren song, so I shouldn't. Okay, easy peasy, done.
Right.
There's like not as much internal struggle there with what's presented to us. But I think it would have been cool if that was textually what was going on. And I'm headcanoning gonna accept that as the reality.
And they kiss, by the way, to the XenaChatz break music, which is interesting that they pulled our song. And we do cut to Gabrielle, who's wide awake listening to them talk about how they love each other.
Very good.
That's it. That's what you're looking for when you're like, oh, she's not into any of this. And then next scene, they have the conversation. Girl, I saw that you told that guy, he said he's your soulmate. I don't know about that. And she's like, well, Gabrielle, you taught me how to love, and I think I might be ready to love again. Which is like, for everyone involved, batten down the hatches. It's getting sapphic out here. But with that note of like, I don't know who I love yet, but I'm feeling complicated. We arrive in Ithaca. Guys, check out my childhood stomping grounds. This is where I used to smoke loose cigarettes behind the swings. This is where, I sold this guy Yu-Gi-Oh cards. This is where somebody pooped in the stairwell. And then it's just the Odyssey, right? Like, here's Penelope. Yep. She's beautiful. Challenged everybody to string the bow.
Suitors, yeah.
Argus the dog. Shout outs to Argus the dog here. You got big floppy ears. At this point, I'm like, I'm just watching an adaptation. I've been watching one, and now I'm really watching the Odyssey, like verbatim.
Yeah.
And then, you said she Forrest Gumps it. Xena, well, actually, yeah. So Ulysses like comes in a cloak, and they're like, wow, a peasant? It's just a cloak, guy. Like, it's not a good, it's a Clark Kent disguise. He's Clark Kenting it, and he's like, I can probably string it, and he actually can't. I think someone said like he's tired. Like Xena was like he probably could if he was at 100%, but he's been on a journey and he's like worn out.
Yeah, he hasn't practiced in a while.
Something nasty about that. I know, I understand. So naturally, in following that metaphor, Xena grabs a hold of it and does it for him under the table, which helps him rise to the occasion, and he is confirmed to be Ulysses. Some men attack when he does the big reveal. I'm obsessed with the shot of him shooting the bow. I was like, please shoot the bow. Please shoot the bow. and he shoots the bow at the guys who attack, and it pierces 3 of them at once. I was like, this is the greatest show ever made. I love a bow with armor-piercing rounds. He pummels people with it. Gabrielle clotheslines the guy. Did you catch this in this action scene? She does the arm out. He runs into it. And she fucking hits him. I was like,
that's pretty good.
More wrestling is back on Xena.
Yeah.
And this, a bunch of fighting. Oh my god, why is Ulysses here? Why are these women here? And then I think Xena has to tell Ulysses, like, hey man, I'm not here to be a homewrecker. You have a wife. Things are complicated with you guys. Make it work. Not with me. Go away. Don't be weird. And she basically puts him into his place, and we say goodbye to Ithaca as he's with Penelope, and things seem to be okay at the end. Final thoughts on this episode?
I think it was decent. It was kind of a classic, like, Xena and Gabrielle have a man in their lives for a couple days episode. It's a little bit of a underwhelming thing that, like, they said, okay, we're gonna do the Odyssey, and they do just kind of a fine part of it. But I thought it was, fun. There's some swashbuckling, there's some myth stuff. It's an enjoyable little romp.
Yeah, I think it's good enough. It's like a 2.5. Not that we do star ratings, but it's a 2.5 for me. It's fine. It gets the job done. It's a little formulaic.
Yeah.
They don't do much with the myth besides Forrest Gump it. They don't really play with the
like what if Xena was there. Yeah.
And our credits line is, despite Gabrielle's incessant hurling, Ulysses' ship was not harmed during the production of this motion picture. Incessant hurling, eh? Yeah, very gross. Highly gross.
I have a couple stray notes.
Yes, sir.
When they meet Ulysses, Xena says, those guys don't like you very much, Ulysses. He says, they don't even know me. A lot of his deliveries are very cheery. Later, Xena asks, how does it look with the ship? He says, it's swarming with pirates. Good. Gabrielle has an oddly intense line when Xena's kind of making fun of her for being seasick. She says, Xena, I will remember that in my moment of misery, you chose levity instead of sympathy.
Like these last words. Yeah. Wild.
When they're about to encounter the sirens, Xena starts tying Ulysses up to the mast. He says, what are you doing? She says, tying you up. He says, okay, I'm game. What'd you have in mind? As, like, the storm is thrashing around them. Relax, bro.
Kinky.
My new favorite thing is the way that Lucy Lawless plays moments where Xena does something cool, and then she looks very self-satisfied and kind of, like, grins and nods to herself, which she does after she sings her siren song. It's so funny and endearing. It's great to see Xena just be like, hell yeah, I did that.
She kind of has a dorky smile, so you almost see the human peeking through a bit of like, I did a cool thing. We don't always look perfect, fabulous, beautiful all the time. Sometimes we're just dorks.
Yeah, and like Xena can be serious, and at the beginning of the episode when they're talking about like smelling the roses or whatever, she can be pretty literal, but she's not like a dark or dour protagonist. She's fun. Because she actually enjoys the things that she gets.
And she got a second chance at life, basically.
Yeah.
I'm sure she had her dark and over serious moment and was like, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Stay silly, Xena.
Yeah. You'll follow your heart, don't worry about me, Gabrielle says. Xena says, you're part of my heart.
Ooh.
Then she says, Gabrielle, you've been so good for me.
Ooh.
Cute.
Ooh.
Nice. Good.
Slings and arrows. It's giving... Never mind.
And then when they get to Ithaca, Ulysses just kind of like grabs some mud and he's like, oh yeah, I'm here. And then Renee O'Connor just kind of like shoves her face in the mud. She really gets into the dirt. It's really good.
It's the line, it's the director being like, okay, Renee, we need you to be so thrilled to be on land again. And here, go have fun with it.
Yeah. Whatever the direction was, she took it to its extreme.
She flew away with it.
In a delightful way. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, my only other thought was like, if this was the Xena anime, we would now be on like, the ocean piracy arc where they have to sail back to Greece with Ulysses' ship and crew. Like they have a whole crew on their way out of the port. And they're like, all right, let's set sail. And of course, the next episode, they're not on the ship anymore. They're back to wandering around the wilderness. But wouldn't that be so great if they had to do like a reverse Odyssey to get back to the mainland? But alas.
They run into even more weird challenges along the way. And at the end of it is when Xena's like, we can't do this.
Yeah, like here's my pitch. You start a Xena episode with this whole Ulysses is home, he's fighting the suitors, Xena, I love you, oh my god. And then you sail away from that. And then they have to make all the stops that he made in the Odyssey, but backwards. Yeah. And you see the aftermath of him having been there and what he did. That's the Xena episode that I would want to write.
I love that. I want that arc real bad. There even was a line when they get on the ship where Ulysses is like, yeah, guys, I'll be leaving, so thanks for the help. I don't need you. Xena's like, I'm coming. And Gabrielle's like, I'm obviously coming too. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is actually a ship that can be piloted by just like a minimum of 3 people. And they're like, cool, sounds good. We're on the ship. So they justified not needing extras on the ship, actually.
Right.
Or not needing a lot of extras. Yeah. Anyways, that's what we got. I think we can take it to a brief musical break. And when we come back, we'll be talking about the price after this.
Right. Hello and welcome back to Xena Warrior Chatzums. I'm still Magellan, that's still Alan. Hey, Alan.
Howdy, hi, hello. I salute you,
reporting
Captain.
For duty. We're going to talk about the second episode we watched this week, but before we do, I believe we have some comments from our posts over on the Xena subreddit. Is that correct?
It is correct, yes. I've been posting threads on the Xena subreddit every week. Feel free to hop in there, give it an upvote, give it a comment. We've got some great folks in there, including Automatic Adeptness 4, who says regarding Here She Comes Miss Amphibolus, this episode was way ahead of its time. Mm-hmm. And we talked a lot about that. And then recent guest of the pod, Rosa Louie, a.k.a. Emily, said, Lucy and I, there's a quote, Lucy and I just bonded instantly and became best friends, says Jeff. I told her about having AIDS, and she told me about the accident last October that broke her pelvis. She gave me so much support. She helped my acting and is the most fabulous and giving person. And this quote goes on to confirm the thing that we read. Jeff says Lucy ignored opinion about kissing somebody who had AIDS, and he says that the kiss was at her insistence to prove to the people that people with the disease deserve to be treated like everyone else. Shout out to Lucy Lawless, honestly.
Oh, gosh, that's awesome.
Isn't that so based, actually? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so amazing that Lucy Lawless is really cool and good.
We can stand her to this day, to our understanding. Awesome. We have a new listener, beginning_pumpkin535, says, I'm just now finding out about this podcast. Welcome to the show. I started with all the Couch Madness rounds and was pleased to see Xena pull through again and again. I'm slowly getting through all the season 1 podcasts, and I've loved them all. Thank you, Beginning Pumpkin. So nice.
Thanks for
Moving
listening.
on to episode 18, The Quest and Necessary Evil. People were excited for the following one, A Day in the Life, and interested in our thoughts on that. And talking a lot about sort of the role of Christianity in Xena. A big part of the show, according to MSMIT256, was a big part of the show, Xena, is about religion, as you'll see a lot of its major plots focus on it in one way or another. The show's message is not to showcase that one religion is the right one. Its message about religion is more along the lines of, it all exists for the people that believe it. So just like the Greek gods exist and are true in this show because Xena and Gabrielle believe and grew up with them, so is every other religion. This is a world where they're all real.
Okay.
Which is a good take on it. And lastly on that one was from Multiple Cats, who said that this trifecta, Destiny, The Quest, and A Necessary Evil are cemented the show for them. The depths of storytelling, strong character advancement was all really what did it for me. And then Xena Scrolls grounds it in the real world, which is great. Yeah, I love that stretch. And we're going to talk about what I think we firmly agree is the end of a stretch of good episodes here. We'll get into that. And lastly, oh, sorry, you got a comment on that?
No, it's just that definitely, I think a lot of shows that we've loved, kind of find it in mid-season 2 and hit a stretch of, okay, this is when the show really locked into what's best about it and was able to consistently deliver. And it was nice to see Xena do that as well. Yeah.
Going into our comments, A Day in the Life and For Him the Bell Tolls. Narrow Currency 1877. Wahoo, awesomeness. I didn't know about this podcast, and I'm all caught up on my Xena pods. I'm so stoked.
Yay. That's awesome.
Welcome to the clan.
Welcome.
MSMIT once again. I agree with the fangirling over Aphrodite. She's a treat whenever she appears. And last but not least, from Emily, I love that you finally got to these episodes. A Day in the Life is an all-time great. Xena crouched over the water hissing at fish is how I always picture her now. I do have to mildly disagree on Howard, though, they say. He's harmless because it's Xena, but he's basically every man who hears a firm no and keeps verbally harassing you because he thinks you're playing hard to get. And he was actively ignoring and trying to cheat on his girlfriend, so we don't stand Howard at the end of the day. I don't think we really said that we do. I think it was more like, is he actually a threat? What about him is a threat? And his actions are definitely threatening.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't love Howard. I don't know if I was clear enough about that, but yeah, not a fan. Yeah.
And lastly, read the discussion at the top of the episode. I'm fairly sure Aphrodite and Cupid were always played by Alex Tidings and Carl Urban. I don't think they ever switched out other actors. I think that was a comment that Omens had made, that they changed them out at some point, but no, it seems like that's just them for the series.
We shall see.
So that brings us into our last discussion of the week. This is actually you should introduce this. This is your show, Big Baby.
Sure. Big Baby. Okay, so we, for our second episode this week, are watching season 2, episode 20, The Price. It was written by Stephen L. Sears, directed by Oli Sassone. It aired on April 28th, 1997. Alan, what happened in The Price?
In this episode, Xena's arrival brings hope to a beleaguered Athenian outpost under siege by the Horde. Meanwhile, Gabrielle's desire to care for the wounded clashes with Xena's ruthless arrangement of supplies, water, and men to implement her battle plans.
Just going to come right out here and say this episode would have been better if they were orcs.
Honestly, yeah. It's still racially questionable, no matter how you spin it. But at least I can not think of them as being like dark-skinned people with tribal tattoos. This isn't like a very racist episode of Xena. It's just like circling around the drain of a little bit of like racially questionable content in what is also a very boring episode of Xena Warrior Princess.
Yeah, I mean, I think, not to mince words about it, this is not a great episode after coming off of, like you said before, a string of some of the best episodes of this series. And then the last episode, which was fine. It was kind of a classic fun romp, little action, little kissing. It's Xena. We're having a nice time. But this one is like actively dull, I think.
Yes.
This is the first Xena episode that I've not really enjoyed all that much in a while. I think partly because it's just like not fun. There's not much about it that is delightful or enjoyable. And then like you're saying, there's a fair amount of uncomfy, these barbaric people, and they do that for like 30 minutes before they get to what the episode's going to get to, which is Gabrielle saying, oh wait, but they're actually human beings with a society and language, and maybe we should acknowledge that. And the episode takes so long to do that you spend all this time being like, is Xena doing a racism right now or what? Or what's happening? And they, like you're saying, they kind of are, because they're participating in this sort of, there's this group and they're nomadic and they live
in caves and they use the term savages.
Yeah, right. So like they're participating in those tropes to then be like, no, but we're challenging the tropes. But not really, because what they go from is, these people are animalistic and they have no empathy, there's no ability to connect with them, to, they actually have like an honor code that we just don't understand, which is also like problematic in its own way. So I don't know. It's just kind of like not a great episode that doesn't really make a very interesting point. And I think rehashes some character conflict between Xena and Gabrielle that we've seen before. Yeah,
100%.
What did you think?
I think it wants to be Darmok, and it ends up being Code of Honor.
Whoa.
Maybe not. It's not as racist as Code of Honor. I should specify before I get corrected. They're not, like, most of the Horde are not darker skinned. Like, they're not doing that part. But like you said, they live in caves. We give them a name. We don't understand their language. They wear creepy face paint, and they use axes, and they use brutal killing and torture methods. Like, just we're othering them, regardless of what's happening literally racially. It's more just these are people who are not us, and we don't give them a name. And I know that they're gonna do more with the Horde at some point on the show. I don't remember when, but I've
okay.
Yeah, we'll like come back to the Horde. I hope that they deepen this their characterization. I genuinely don't know if they will, but like also a lot of them have the nose bones, which is another like racialized concept from a lot of tribal cultures. And please, you know, if you're a listener and you're like, I don't agree with you at all on this, I'm so happy to hear that always, but like it just feels weird. And the fact that they're called the Horde, the Horde is like and they use it to do horror movie stuff here and there. We get a little bit of Sam Raimi horror movie stuff with like they're in the trees, they're hiding. Yeah,
there's some like guerrilla warfare stuff going on. They're popping out. You don't even know when or how. Yeah,
it gives them their chance to do a horror episode basically, but. Yeah, to end it with like, oh, they just wanted water. The word that they keep saying, kaltaka, it just means water. They're thirsty. We should be nice to them. And for that to be the axe that splits Xena and Gabrielle's relationship this week, it's like, basically Gabrielle's like, we should be nice to them and try to, they probably want something. And Xena is like, what they want is to kill us. And that's not, we need to defend our people. The Athenians. That is like not. I think that's a very simple argument.
Yeah, it feels like it's a season old. This feels like it could have been a season 1 conflict, and it was. Like the one where Ares tricks Xena into becoming a warlord again and gives her an army and stuff, and Gabrielle's like, "What the heck are you doing? You're not supposed to have an army right now." So we've done these character beats, and I think it's okay sometimes, especially in a an episodic show like this, to rehash some character conflicts because you need to keep them fresh, and maybe people haven't seen the episode that aired a year ago or whatever. So I'm not saying you can never like retread the same ground, but it feels like you could have done this exact episode at the end of season 1 and we wouldn't have batted an eye because the character development between the two of them just has no bearing here, it feels like. And I don't know, there's kind of the angle of Xena has PTSD maybe, or she just has like these very bad traumatic associations with this time where this group of people attacked her men and killed them, and that's weighing on her in a way that Gabrielle doesn't understand. Like I could see that and understand that, but for her to like be given over to that so much that she doesn't even speak to Gabrielle or reason with her at this stage in the show doesn't quite make sense or feel true to the characters for me.
Yeah, it doesn't acknowledge the work that they've done until now. You said that about the last one, like, could they have somehow made parts of the Poseidon episode in season 1? But this is fully like, are we disregarding like everything we've learned about these girls? Because I even think about like the episode towards the end of season 1 where Gabrielle almost dies, and they're trying to help all the people. And that's another example of like, one of us wants to help, the other one wants to fight, and there's conflict there. But like you said, that one resolves because it's like we need both, you know? It's useful to help and it's useful to fight. And it doesn't make a hard stance on like, oh, but the bad guys are nice people. I think that even another example, something they could have done to make this cooler, give me a member of the Horde who's like can speak or can communicate. Give me an enemy mine where like Gabrielle's trapped with a member of the Horde and like a planet, and they have to communicate through stuff. Instead, what empathizes us to them is
Darmok. That's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Trap one of them and make them go, oh, guys, we can't fight them. They're nice people. Instead, what we get is Xena realizing that they don't fight superiors, and so she kind of like demonstrates her physical immunity to them because they all know she's stronger than them, and so that's why they stopped fighting. They're like, well, what?
Yeah, it's just like, oh, see, they have a code, like a warrior honor code. But right, I think that was also, underwhelming or not satisfactory to me with this episode is Xena's like, oh, okay, they have demonstrated to me the base understanding that they are an association of human beings who have customs, traditions, and language. But like, you already knew that because they had a word for something. Even if you didn't know what the word meant, they have
language,
weapons that they've been trained to use. They have clothing that they wear and markings that they wear. This is a society. They already have demonstrated that to you. But just because they don't, kill, I don't know, what's the word? They don't kill like whoever they want, whenever they want. But there's like rules to it. Suddenly, it just didn't quite feel like enough. I don't know. So this episode just didn't really have much to say about what it was trying to say. I don't think
it makes a point and then doesn't do anything with it. Is how I would phrase that.
Like people are people too, is what it's saying, and it's like, okay, sounds good. See you next week.
Those mother effers are just thirsty. Okay.
Yeah. I did kind of like the twist of the word they've been saying is the word for water. That worked for me as giving some kind of meaning to that word.
Yeah. And if it's like we chant for water when we get into battle or when we're about to die, then does that mean that they just want water this whole time and it's not being provided to them? Their people are thirsty. Like it suggests more, but not enough to explain much here.
Yeah.
I don't really want to do a full recap about this one because it's kind of it's nothing. We meet them. There's again mostly horror movie stuff. Oh my god, all the dead bodies going down the river. That's a gruesome shot, huh? Mm-hmm. Lots of dead bodies down the river. One of them washes up on shore while we're fishing. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Horror
it
movie
is a
stuff.
Cool way to get into the plot that we're just having a casual fishing moment, which for continuity's sake, like the Reddit comment said, Xena should have been in there elbow deep in the water grabbing fish with her bare hands, not using a fishing rod, but that's fine.
I think it depends on the type of water, if it's a stream or a lake or whatever.
Sure, yeah. Gabrielle says, I have a theory about fish. Xena says, oh, the one where they're cold, wet, and slimy. I heard that one. A cute moment. And Gabrielle starts talking about how she thinks that all people used to be fish. Like, I really like this, and then she just pulls a full dude out of the water, and he's like, sorry, there's a scary plot I need you to join. That was great. I think that's a great way to get into it.
Excellent way to start a D&D campaign section.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent way. So they can talk about whatever they want, and then you're just like, oh, you reel in something, and it seems heavy. It seems like it's pulling at your line, and you're like, oh my god, it's a big fish, and you're like, it's a man.
It's a full guy, yeah.
That's great. That looks awesome on paper. That's awesome in a campaign. And it is a good setup for an episode that just happens to be not that interesting.
Yeah.
Most of my notes are about the fight stuff, though. Like, this episode does have good fight scenes. Of course it does. It's all fight scenes. It's all, we got to battle them. They got to battle us. We're being attacked by them. We're attacking them. Just, my favorite action moment was Xena, Gabrielle, and some Athenians are all fighting the Horde. The Athenians are super badass. And Xena... The Horde have these axes, these like cool curved axes that they have, or they wield. She catches one of them with her whip, pulls it back, and throws it back into the guy's face. Like, bop, up, like a fishing rod! Wabam! Into the guy's face. That's fantastic. They want to be a war movie too, though. Gabrielle is like in the trenches with a guy, and he's like, they're invisible. I can't do this anymore. And it's like, oh, you have a Horde PTSD? Wow, what a loser. What an uncool thing to detail. Again, just like they have to be scary. They have to be scary.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the other thing. A thought that I was having in this episode is, to be fair to it, this is just not what I come to Xena for. This is not really a genre pastiche that I'm interested in. I don't enjoy... I think I had a phase when I was like a teenage boy, and it's like, okay, I gotta watch Saving Private Ryan and like all the war movies or whatever. But I don't really care about war movies. I get it. War is hell. It's bad. We shouldn't do it. It's awful.
There's no such thing as an anti-war movie.
I've seen that story so many times that it just doesn't do anything for me to see it again, you know? And it feels like that's what they're trying to do here. You wrote in your notes that they're basically doing like an Apocalypse Now kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that feels like what they're riffing on. You know, let's do that, or Saving Private Ryan, or whatever. And yeah, they have a bunch of moments where they're in the trenches, or it's like, I need supplies for the medicine. These guys need to go to the front. Like, whatever. I don't know. It's not
Xena the military campaign. That ain't it, guys. That really ain't it.
Yeah.
Then we get some conflict between Xena and Gabrielle. Who are you, Xena? What happened to the Xena that I know? Okay. All right. That's nothing. That scene of Xena non-verbally reasoning with the Horde member, learning about the moral code, where she's like, you go past me, try to fight me. And he stops. And she's like, okay, I've intuited that means he's stopping because he won't fight me. And that's because I'm stronger than him. They have their final, Xena and Gabrielle have their like final sort of like forgiveness conversation. And what Xena says to Gabrielle, very sweet. You haven't given into hatred. You don't know how much I love that. Long pause, by the way.
That moment, I think, was the only part of their conflict in this episode that felt like it was drawing upon developments from this season, that their relationship is deepening. It's becoming more overtly romantic. And it's not just like Xena has a respect for Gabrielle's innocence, you know, because that's how this plot would have gone in the first season. Oh, you don't get it. You haven't been to war, and I appreciate that you're here to ground me. Instead, Xena's like, well, actually, no, I've seen you go through some shit, and you do understand what it's like to hate and want to take revenge, and you still have never done it.
Right.
And I love that. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Really love that thing you do.
Yeah, and I thought Lucy Lawless played that moment really well, because Xena was going to say, and I love you, or love you for that reason, but was, you know, a little nervous to be that vulnerable in that moment. And I thought that worked.
What's up with that final scene, by the way, where the Horde like leader tries to attack Xena and then his men kill him? Is it because he tried to hurt Xena and then they're like, oh, but she has the respect. You can't be stupid. Don't fight Xena. Yeah,
I guess so. Or like, she's the strongest one here, so we respect her more than you, something like that.
It's just too violent. Like this episode, if it wants to be exactly this, it needs to be more violent. It needs to be much darker. Like this is, and it's not a Xena episode at that point. It leaves the realm of what makes good Xena content. Because Xena can do dark and emotionally resonant stuff and show death, but like, if their whole thing is that they're violent and bloody, then like I need to see it to believe it, or else they just feel like they're doing nothing.
Yeah, it also just makes me think, we're talking a lot about Star Trek in this episode, makes me think of how TNG does Klingon stuff. And,
that's a good comparison.
The way they do Klingon stuff, there's a lot of the similar kind of racialized elements that we're talking about. And Klingons are darker skinned aliens who have, the trappings of a more warrior culture. We have an honor code, whatever. And you can say what you will about that. And that certainly has bothered me when we've watched it. And also the Klingons talk to each other about how they feel about that. And they talk to people who are not Klingons about, this is what we believe and why we believe it. And here's what we do. And these are our customs. And there are Klingons who agree or disagree to certain extents about those customs and their role in the society.
Because they're not a monoculture, also. They're not just the Horde. They are Klingons. They have people who disagree with each other.
Yeah. And this episode, it just doesn't provide that level of individuality to the people who are a part of the Horde. So it's not interesting for them to be like, oh, actually, they have this honor code. Because it's like, well, that's an oversimplification that's as oversimplified as what you were doing before, even if it's less pernicious. It's still very much flattening this entire group of people in a way that feels, at best, boring to me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Boring is the right word for it.
So, I don't know. And like you were saying, there's a missed opportunity to do a kind of, like a Hugh from the Borg.
Oh, sure.
Like we capture one of the Borg and he starts to help us understand the Borg kind of thing.
Yeah.
But maybe they'll do more with the Horde and they'll do more of that kind of stuff. And this is just, they exist and we'll get more of what we're looking for later. I'm open to that. But this episode was not doing it.
To show sympathy for, this is the end credits line, to show sympathy for the Horde, Kaltaka was only served upon request during the production of this motion picture.
I don't get it.
They only served water to be nice to them because we know they want water, so we just served them water.
Was like only served upon request. Like, why not just give everybody water all the time?
Oh, that's how I read it. Yeah, wait, what? Okay. That's nothing.
I don't get it. Yeah.
Any straight nets on this one?
I shouldn't have laughed at this, but when they're rowing down the river and they go by those Athenian guys who are dying and they're shouting out for Athena, they're like, "Oh, Athena!" I laughed. I thought it was funny. It was not supposed to be, but they were like, "Athena!" Sorry about it.
I agree.
There's this one guy, one of the soldiers, when he finds out that it's Xena, he gave Xena 3 different epithets. He was like, Xena, warrior princess of this place, killer of Callisto, da-da-da-da-da. And from this point forward, everybody needs to greet Xena that way. No more just Xena, the warrior princess. You need to give her, like, 3 different titles. Like she's some kind of Tolkien fantasy character or something. I thought that was
Game of Thrones character, King of the Royals, the Andors,
yeah, exactly.
And all the
Yes.
I think they should stack them. They should be like Xena, Slayer of the Cyclops, winner of the Peloponnesian War, killer of Callisto, bride to Ares.
Yeah. If you don't need to take a breath in the middle of greeting Xena, then you are doing it wrong.
I agree. I agree.
Prove to me that you're a true fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed that. Yeah, that's it. Those are my notes.
It's not a very dense episode.
Yeah.
Pop. I got nothing. I said all my good stuff. The lines that were fun, I said them. We're good. Moving along. Yeah. Well, John, what are we doing next time on Xena or on Chatz or what's happening?
Next time we are concluding season 2 of Xena Warrior Princess. And just so people are aware, speaking of Star Trek, in 2 weeks we're going to watch the first half of season 3 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So if you need to start building in time to watch that now, like we do, be ready for that in 2 weeks after we finish season 2 of Xena. But next time, first off is season 2, episode 21, The Lost Mariner. Xena challenges the sea god Poseidon when Gabrielle becomes trapped aboard a ship that's cursed to remain at sea forever. Yes, we're doing it. We're doing the piracy arc after all.
Yeah! And
Hoorah!
I hope we see that exact same shot of Poseidon again. I need it. Maybe that's where we see Xena doing the yell.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah.
Season 2, episode 22, Comedy of Eros. Even the warlord Draco. Remember Draco?
Yeah, I do.
From, like, the pilot episode?
Yeah.
Even the warlord Draco becomes a comedic victim of Cupid's son Bliss when the mischievous boy creates unlikely romantic pairings among Xena, Gabrielle, Joxer, and Draco.
Do you think? Oh my god, do you think?
Do I think Joxer x Draco? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Draco is from the pilot. Do you think they really put Xena and Gabrielle together and just have a little bit of silly
as like
fun
a
with
gag?
it? Yeah, like what if they were gay? Haha, JK, unless.
I'm
so excited.
I'm ready for that.
The fact that I haven't heard about this one means maybe not, because I usually know my ear to the ground when that show gets more and more gay. You know what I have heard, and maybe we can talk about this next time, but
okay,
season 3 is like wild.
That's
season
exciting.
3 it's a weird season of television. Good? Don't know. Bad? Genuinely don't know. Will we get another warrior ... princess ... Yes, we will.
Yes, we do, I believe.
So things to look forward to in the future after next week and Star Trek. So in like 3 weeks. Great. Magellan, it is time for me to ask you some questions. First off, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on 2 different places. Another podcast that I do with my friend Justin called Super Smash Echoes, where we play video games related to the Super Smash Brothers franchise, Super Smash Echoes. Check it out. And then, of course, you can read my writing on my newsletter at notthatmagellan.substack.com. Alan, what about you?
You can hear me on a few other podcasts. I'm not really on social media either, but I am on the Creature Quorum every other week or so. My friend Six and I talk about Pokemon Black and White 2, doing our playthrough of it as adults. We haven't really played it in a long time. It's a great game. We also talk about Pokemon and Monster Hunter over there in general. And every month I'm on the Garnet Wager on scanlinemedia.com. That's our storytelling Korean game show, reality show, fiction podcast. It's great. And lastly, you can hear me every other month on Talking Marketing at amaboston.org, interviewing marketing people about their work. Those are our gigs. Magellan, it is an odd episode, which means it is your time to do the plug zone.
All righty, let's do this thing. So if you want to get in touch with the show, you can email us at chatz@televisionpodcast@gmail.com with any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, requests to be on the show. We have an open door policy here. If you ask, sure. If you have a specific episode that you want to be here to discuss because it's your fave or you have a lot to say about it, we welcome that and we love that. And we want you to do that. You can also follow us on X at ChatzPod. You can find us on YouTube, Chatz, a television podcast, where we may post these sort of video versions that we were practicing today. You may never see this video version. If you don't, you're not missing something special. We're just like, okay, well, next time we'll do that in a more interesting way. But anyway, subscribe to get the show there on YouTube and to see some YouTube specific thumbnails also. That's kind of fun. Wherever you access the show, consider doing the things that help make the show look good to more people. So subscribing, liking, giving us a rating, whether that's on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you access podcasts. Share the show with people who you know like Xena or like a show that we've watched in the past. We also now have a link tree. We used to have a website, but we moved away from that to something that is simpler to upkeep and also a little more accessible, I think, actually. The link tree. Yeah, so our link tree is linktr.ee/chatspod. And I went through, and what I wanted to do on this link tree is one, link all the stuff that we plug here. So the YouTube, X, where to find the podcast, our Twitch channel, those kind of things. Our Patreon, which I'll talk about in a second. And then also I took the time to find the first podcast episode for every show that we've covered. So if you want to go jump into our coverage of Babylon 5, you scroll down, you find season 6 Chatzelon 5, you click on it, and you can start listening there. So it's the most convenient place to find the jumping on points for individual Chatz seasons, as well as find links to these other things that we plug for ourselves. The one thing I haven't added yet, which I will add, is our Chatzums document, which is the log of all the things that we've recommended at the end of episodes. So I recommend going to the link tree to find all sorts of helpful links.
That's our landing page. Wow, this is good. Wow, this is good, man.
Thanks. I'm also using a link tree template where every time you load like a new version of it, the colors are different. So that's fun.
Oh, wait. Let me refresh.
Refreshing won't change it. It's like once you cleared the cache or whatever.
Oh,
I don't know exactly how it works, but it's a different color every time I open it. Okay. Speaking of the Patreon, by the way, you can support us financially at patreon.com/chatspod. $1 a month gets you onto our Discord, which you can also get to from the link tree as well. There's a join link there. And you don't have to pay us, but if you want to pay us $1 a month, it'd be nice. Whatever. $3 a month gets you access to twice monthly bonus content. We're moving towards one episode a month where either Alan or myself will pick the content the way that we used to when we did our Chats in a Pickle season, which we did during the writer's strike and the actor's strike. And that was just kind of like getting each other to check something out for a couple hours. So we'll have one of those this month and then a listener suggested topic as well. Mm-hmm. You can get that for $3 a month. And then $5 a month gets you thanked right here at the end of every episode. Thank you, of course, to our $5 patrons. Amanda, who's in the other room, and I love you very much. Hello, hi, thank you for supporting the show. It's my girlfriend. Arthur, Emily, Emrys, Felicia, Jen, Justin, Kyrie, Lee, Marcus, May Louise, my mom, Nick of the Brothers of Infinite War, Noel, Six, and Stefan. Thank you, folks, for supporting the show. We like to end our episodes here with our Chatzums, which are little Vlasic snack pickles to snack on between now and next time. Things that we recommend that you do or watch or read or listen to or whatever the heck. So, Alan, what's your Chatzum for this week?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Magellan. My Chatzum, I have 3 Chatzums for this week. Isn't that bonkers? Whoa.
Whoa.
I have 2 movies and a song. to Chatzum for you this week. John Bellion, my favorite artist of all time, just put out his first song in 6 years. His first song in 6 years because he's out of his very restrictive recording contract, and the song is called Kid Again, and I just listened to it on Friday when it came out, and it's so good. It's a beautiful production. It's an interesting new direction for him. I'd say it's like more production focused, less focused on lyrics, but it is the preamble to a new album, which I'm so excited for. So go stream Kid Again. Go watch I Saw the TV Glow, which is now on Max, the place to watch for HBO. I Saw the TV Glow is a really wonderful movie in the sort of like thriller / queer horror genre, about people bonding over a TV show really strongly and realizing things about themselves from watching it. Chatz listeners will appreciate that the show, the in-universe show called The Pink Opaque, is very, very explicitly modeled after Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, that's fun.
Down to the font in the credits, you're like, oh, James Schoenbaum, the director, like, is talking about Buffy here.
In every generation, there's a TV.
Exactly, and it's glowing. It's really sad and beautiful, but also heartfelt and has
Phoebe Bridgers.
Yeah, dude, don't look at the cast. The cast is absolutely buck wild. There's so many people who are like, wait, why are you in this? Phoebe Bridgers is in it. You start to realize that the director may or may not have all the same taste as me. And you're like, wait, hold on.
Fun.
It's funny that I just watched it and then there was a ton of discourse about it on Twitter. Like, is it explicit enough that it's about being trans and closeted? But should it be more explicit? And it's like, I'm here to tell you guys, metaphors are fun. It's fun when things are metaphorical and they stand in for other things. I don't need Owen to say I'm a trans woman and I don't know. Because the point is that the character doesn't have the words to say it. It takes place in the 90s. They didn't have, this teenager in the suburbs didn't have the words to say what they were feeling, like there was a person inside them trying to come out. There's a lot of very explicit imagery though. I mean, he's like standing under a trans flag parachute thing at one point. Very beautiful film. If none of that tracks with you, I still recommend checking it out just for the filmmaking of it all. And if you like sort of symbolic metaphor storytelling, it's top tier. I really, really got a kick out of it. It's very thought provoking. And then I also just yesterday evening watched Lawrence of Arabia for the first time, which was on Prime Video. It's leaving Prime Video by the time this episode goes up, so you'll have to find it elsewhere. But yeah, just one of those big films I've had under my belt for or wanted to watch and have under my belt for a very long time. It takes place in and around, Syria in the early 20th century, and the Arabian, the area known as Arabia at the time. So that's like Syria, parts of Israel, Turkey. Obviously, the Turkish Empire is a big part of it. And so it's this period of time where Turkey has occupied a lot of the Middle East, and the British military and other people are using World War I as an excuse to sort of get in there and liberate the Arab people. T.E. Lawrence at the center of it's a really interesting historical figure. So what, like my friend and I who watched it, we just spent like the hour after the movie ended just like reading his Wikipedia page. He's fascinating. The movie's very gay. There are no women with speaking roles in it at all. It's all guys in the desert sweating it out, and it's in the 60s, so everyone's like kind of hot, and he has these crisp blue eyes. This movie also very clearly inspired Dune. So, another angle to approach it from is like, how did Frank Herbert feel about this at the time? What was he basing his story on? It's worth watching. I think you really got to set aside like a day for it because it's so long, but it's good. It's got a classic intermission, an old school intermission, like with music and everything. So, get some popcorn, get some dinner, pace yourself, get some tea halfway through it. Check out Lawrence of Arabia. It's worth your time. I love it when old movies are actually really good. Yeah, that's always a good. They usually are. Generally, they are. But sometimes when something's a classic, you're like, why isn't it a classic? But no, Alan gives a thumbs up to Lawrence of Arabia. What about you, Chatzums?
2 music Chatzums that have visual components and that I found on YouTube. So the first is this is like what I wish all the AI stuff was, and just this and nothing else. It's this channel called Scholastum Provost, and it's essentially like dark medieval beats to study and relax to, like an hour of very repetitive kind of zone out while you're doing something music. But and it's AI generated or like AI assisted music. The thumbnails are AI made, so take that with a grain of salt and engage with that to the extent that you want to or don't want to. But the person who's making it is presenting all of this in the character of someone who's like inviting you on a quest, and the about of the channel says, "I'm the provost of the Order Scholastum. Venture to Castle Libratus, and I will care for your studies, my ward. Images are generations of AI. Music is of AI in mine own hand. The tale is thine own. The dreams and ambitions are thine own. But you already knew that, eh, squire?" And all of the video titles are like, "Breathe in the ruins, squire," or "Keep going, squire, thou art nearly there," or "Study and search for secrets." It's like everyone is a different scene in this story. So it's just somebody who had an idea for a thing and is like, let me use AI to make my thing. And they respond to comments in character. So I sent you a screenshot of this recently. I'm trying to find it.
In our text?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
you
remember
did.
how to find pictures in texts on this
I
wonderful phone. You
The
have it?
comment
Can you read it?
was, "Great one, bro. I listen to your ambient music while I'm working, but this one is a bit dark and drags down my mood, Scholastum Provost replies, "Take heart, Tony. A melody in the minor is a setting moon. Soon the sun shall rise."
It's so good. This
So-
person is fully committing to the bit.
My take is like, the music sounds fine, whatever. The AI stuff
Yeah.
sucks. Sorry. But
Yeah.
like, them being in character for all this is what I like. That's really
the best
fun.
part. Yeah, 100%. And then I have an actual song made by people to recommend to you. So this is a
Bless.
song called Analog by a group called Folk B-Word Trio. I don't like saying the B word, but it's in their name. Folk B-Word Trio, and the song's called Analog. It's very good, and they have a music video for it that is delightful. It's essentially made to look like it's a VCR home video recording, but they're all fully decked out in chainmail with swords and stuff. It's just a fun. If you like Xena, Warrior Princess, I think you'll
Women
like...
in armor with swords.
I think you'll like this song and music video.
Yeah.
So
I just realized
my
while I was
Chatzums.
playing the previous one that people would have heard that in at least the video version of this. So I'm really, this has been a great test phase to like learn what I can do and what I need to be careful, what to be aware of. Anything I play on audio on my computer will come up on the pod, so I just got to be aware.
Let me just put it this way. After listening to the song and another song of theirs called God's a Different Sword, which is also a good song, the next thing that YouTube gave me was a Hosier song that was pitched up so that Hosier sounded like a woman. So if this isn't
Hello?
lesbian music content, then YouTube doesn't know what it's doing.
Oh my god, is it the
That's
one where the
what I'm saying.
thumbnail is...
Yeah. It's that one.
I'm going to try and put it on the screen. Here it is. Pitching Hosier's voice up 15% so he sounds like a lesbian singing to her lover, and then it's the gays offering their sword to that concept. That's so good.
It's pretty good, yeah.
That's so good. All right, well, I've got some YouTube channels to check out and some music to listen to. So thank you, Magellan, for being the sort of bard to my warrior princess, because there were no good pairing of characters in these episodes, really. I don't want to say the Ulysses to my Xena, because that's dumb and hetero. And anyways, thank you guys very much for listening to this, the first video pilot test episode of XenaChatz. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.